and welcome back to the Coffeehouse. My name is Vic Bonacci. I am your barista, at least for right now, right? Coffee is good. We are doing something that I really enjoy doing on this program these days. We are spinning the wheel. The wheel of, in this case, what's on the wheel? Conversation starters. This is the Agile Coffee Conversation Starters Volume 1. Filled with, there's about 50 or so cards in here with a number of topics and questions that can, as the name says, start conversations. So if you would like to get your own copy of the deck, you can reach out to me. Information coming up at the end of the video. Let's spin the wheel. I should always tell you, if it lands in a blank, we go to the next one over. And here it is. In the red, we've got something called, it says, Finding Process Improvements with GEMBA WALKS. Finding Process Improvements with GEMBA WALKS. GEMBA, are you familiar with that word? GEMBA? G-E-M-B-A. It's a Japanese word. It comes from the Japanese, meaning the place where it happens. GEMBA. It's like a location. It's a pretty vague word, meaning just the location. And typically, if we're in the same office, this might be just a shortcut for the office, right? Now, Gemba, being a Japanese word, you might guess it comes back from the days of the Toyota production system. So if you're familiar with that, back in post-World War II, Toyota in Japan was one of the companies that was known for increasing their quality by removing waste in the system. In other words, making their processes lean. At Toyota specifically, there was a gentleman named Taiichi Ono who was all about this. He was one of the people who really kind of made this process known by finding waste in the system and eliminating it. You know, when you're manufacturing, waste could take many forms, such as too much inventory building up, or perhaps not enough nuts and bolts to screw the door on the truck as it passes by, or defects, or anything like that. Handoffs between people that were delayed. These are all examples of waste in the system that, if you reduce them, leads to higher quality, faster delivery. If we fast forward to nowadays, when we're working primarily with knowledge work in our offices, when we're talking, and I'm assuming that you work with teams that are building something, Scrum teams perhaps, that are maybe making software or handling some kind of an IT type of a product. In this case, where the work isn't as visible as it would have been on production lines such as those at Toyota, we need something to kind of like stand in when we're talking about making work visible and removing waste and increasing the quality. So in our case, the office is our Gemba where we're working, and we've got processes when we're talking about Scrum specifically, but Agile in general includes insights into how we can make the work visible through artifacts or through meetings or whatever it might be. Okay, I've gone way off course here, but I'm trying to set up where this word Gemba came from. So imagine that you are a Scrum Master, for example, and you're working with a Scrum team. And so if you are in the same office, and I'll come back to an example if you're not in the same office, but go with me here on this example. If you are in the same office with your team, you can be around your team, and you could identify when waste is occurring, and you could do something about it right there with the team. It's easier because the Gemba is a physical location where you could use your five senses to understand what's going on. Here we're talking about finding process improvements with a Gemba walk. So if you are following that advice and you're let's say a Scrum Master or someone working with a team, what you could do is get up out of your chair and kind of walk around and understand how people are doing, what the processes they're using are like. Are they filling out their cards and moving them across the board if that's one of your team's processes? Are they having conversations? Are those conversations well facilitated? So getting out of your chair and walking around is the key to this one here. Now, these days, most of us aren't doing GEMBA walks in the office around, quote, software teams. I put that in quotes. I'm not sure why I did, but teams working in, quote, knowledge work. How's that for a set of quotes? However, more and more, our teams have become hybrid or altogether virtual, in that we are not all in the same physical location. So what's a Scrum Master to do then? If your Gemba goes beyond just the walls in which you are working, if it's spread across a very large territory, perhaps across the entire world. I'm going to be too lazy to put an echo effect in there, so I just kind of improvised. I hope you can appreciate that. But the question remains, what can you do to identify waste in the system, in your quote, Gemba, if you don't have a Gemba? Well, that's why retrospectives and the daily Scrum are very important for Scrum. Now, if you're not using Scrum, that's fine. There are also other alternatives. For example, in the world of Kanban, look at that, it is right here. In the Blue Book, in Kanban, and the framework that they describe, there is a daily Kanban meeting, which kind of does the same, it's the same, in effect, meeting as the daily Scrum in Scrum. So these are opportunities for the team to come together and report on any impediments that they're seeing, and maybe find ways that we could work improvements into the system. Similarly, at the end of a sprint in Scrum, we have that built-in mechanism to inspect and adapt the process of how we're working. So these are some opportunities for a Scrum Master to get involved in identifying impediments and working to remove them or replace them with processes that work better. So finding process improvements may not be the sole responsibility of a Scrum Master, but I would say let's spread that responsibility out across the entire Scrum team. If we're using Scrum, whatever your team is, you want to spread that responsibility out and let the team know that process improvements make our lives easier. Removing impediments, making the work better, faster, more fun, really. All right, I think that unless there's anything else that comes to mind in the next 3 seconds, we're going to go ahead and call this issue closed so that we can move on. What are we moving on to? I'll let you know that right now. Down below, there are some ways that you can reach out and get in touch with me on any of my websites. That's agilecoffee.com for blog posts and podcasts and general nonsense. OnlineScrumClass.com lists all of the classes that I teach, which are primarily advanced certified Scrum Master classes, as well as AgileCoachingCards.com, where you can find information on how to get your hands on not only the Conversation Starter deck, but as well the Agile Coaches Toolkit, which is one of my favorite decks that I ever put together. So that's it. Until next time, you can enjoy your Gemba wherever you may be, and I remind you to enjoy your Gemba and your coffee with friends.